Ladies and gentlemen, if you look to the left side of the ballroom, let's give a Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome to Peyton Manning. All right, we can turn the music down a little bit. Who's ready to hear from Peyton Manning for this one? Boy, the single largest crowd that we've ever had for a Little Rock Touchdown Club, and this is going to be a fun one today. Before we get going, I'm going to bring Gary Underwood up to say our prayer.
You know, folks, we don't usually have to hush people at church. They usually are asleep by the time I get up. So, but it's good to see all of you today. I'm sorry I missed last week. Mr. Macris, congratulations on grabbing that golf tournament. I would ask you to ask, there you go. I'm open to coming and praying for you at the tournament. I'm used to praying at the golf course regularly. Where's my ball? That kind of thing. Let's pray, folks. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day. The many blessings that you give us, the grace and mercy that you just pour out upon us if we only ask. Lord, we ask you to use the food that we enjoyed today to bless and strengthen our bodies. We ask you for a great time today as we enjoy each other's company and hear a wonderful speaker. Lord, use us today in any way possible as we go about our daily life. In your name we pray, amen.
All right, thanks, Gary. Great to be here. What a crowd. Peyton, I'm telling you, we've had your dad, your brother, but nobody's packed them out like you have today. I was just thinking about, Peyton, just to put it in terms of some of the ones we've had here before. We've had some great speakers. Think about this. Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, Mean Joe Green, Earl Campbell, Mike Ditka, Larry Zonka, Marcus Allen, Michael Irvin, just to name a few. And so that's one of the goals of the Touchdown Club, is to have folks like Peyton, that football royalty, folks who've done amazing things that maybe sometimes in Central Arkansas we don't get to see. So no matter what you're going through today, be here in the moment. Enjoy every bit of what you're going to hear today, because you've got, obviously, not only is he a great football player, but a class act. You'll pick up on that, obviously, pretty quickly. Do you want to thank all of our great volunteers? We've got a volunteer group of about 30 deep, and you've seen them walking around here. Let's please give a round of applause to everybody who's volunteered today. Now, Peyton, I don't know about you, but I'm a sweater. And probably it's because, I've gone from a linebacker to a nose guard in the last 10 years. And so it is what it is. I accept it. But I just want to make sure our guest knows I'm not having a medical emergency up here, although I might. Who knows? Let's thank our great sponsors real quick. We'll run through these real quick. 103.7 The Buzz. Peyton was just on a show with them. Thank you so much for the support, 103.7 The Buzz. AY Media, which is AY Magazine and Arkansas Money and Politics. Heather Baker, thank you for your support. The Hatcher Agency, Greg Hatcher and Twin City Limo. Appreciate your support, Greg, and Popeyes, and all the work you do behind the scenes, Greg, to help this club be the best it can be. War Memorial Stadium, celebrating the 75th anniversary this past weekend. If you're going to play there, you might as well win there. 56-13, the Razorbacks beat Western Carolina, so that's a good thing. Arkansas Urology, thanks to CEO Scott Davis, director of the Arkansas Urology Foundation, Chris Chinnup. 13 clinics across Arkansas, 150,000 patients they treat annually. It's obviously National Prostate Awareness Month. And so usually what they do is to obviously encourage men to go get checked up, free checkups, right? And they give away TVs to do that, 65-inch TVs. Well, to be in the spirit today, the fine folks at Arkansas Urology has put a number underneath one water glass out there today for a 65-inch TV. So fill under your water glass, look around, and let me hear like a price is right. I'm the winner. We'll give it a second. Oh, we got it? Let's give a round of applause. I can't see who that is out there, but congratulations. They're doing great things at Arkansas Urology. Guys, get checked, please. Please get checked. That's what we're going to be talking about during the month of September. Thank you to Scott and Chris. I do want to thank Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis, Stephen Rockert, delivering the Farm Bureau promise for 80 years in Pulaski County. Thank you so much, Todd and Stephen and Pulaski County Farm Bureau. Dairy Queen, 15 locations and growing. Blake and Nelson Lively, Todd Denton, thank you guys so much for your support of the Touchdown Club. Simmons Bank Arena, Michael Mary and Jenna DeGeorge. Some have questioned, why did you not take Peyton Manning over to Simmons Bank Arena? Well, we'll just, you know what? I didn't think about it. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have. So, but do want to thank, they're doing great work. They got a ton of concerts coming up. Check them out, Simmons Bank Arena. Summerwood Sports, the newest and most amazing premier sports complex, not only in Arkansas, but in the South. Doing to wish David Hendricks Jr. a happy 37th birthday. Where's Big David at? Happy birthday, David. Thank you to Summerwood Sports and their continued support of the Touchdown Club. Advantage Service Company, Kevin Brooks, one call does it all. Speaking of birthdays, his son Grayson is here and turns 21 today. Let's give a round of applause for his birthday. Where's Grayson at? Raise your hand. Happy birthday, Grayson. What a birthday present. Very nice that you get to be here today. Thank you, Kevin, and your support through our Advantage Service Company. We appreciate that. Also, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. This is a full-service law firm. It's been around 124 years. They do it all. Judy Henry, she's been with this club since the get-go. They do great work. If you need any help in any area, we mentioned NIL work last week. It can be real estate. It can be courtroom, whatever it is, they'll take care of you at Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. We appreciate Judy and her leadership with that amazing group. Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. 19 years they've been with us. We'll have our first All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. As a matter of fact, the last time Peyton was here, he spoke to the All-Arkansas Preps Award Banquet. Did a great job there. Keith Jackson interviewed him, and we'll have our first Player of the Week here in just a second. Thank you to Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Crane Automotive, largest dealer group in Arkansas, 20 dealerships. 1,000 employees. Crane teams got them. Christian Crane, thanks so much for your support. We appreciate it. Sissy's Log Cabin. Last week, Peyton, we had Laura Rutledge, and she got a David Yurman bracelet. Do you have anything for Peyton today? No. He's got the rings. He doesn't need anything, right? We do want to thank Sissy's Log Cabin. Obviously, one of the legendary jewelry companies in this state, over 50 years. Double B's owner Steve Lytle and GM Ed Light since 1962. They've been taking care of our Kansas. We appreciate them. Oaklawn, Wayne Smith, the GM. Where's Wayne at? I laid some money on the Razorbacks this weekend on the Oaklawn Sports app. The over Rex 49, boom. The over for Western Carolina, barely. They kicked the field goal at the end with no time on the clock. I was the only one celebrating that was happy about that. Even though I'm a Razorback, we still won big, but I needed those 3 points. So really loving my getting to know the Oaklawn Sports app. And finally, Simmons Bank, George Macris. How about the announcement? Peyton, you may not be as familiar with Simmons Bank, but they're one of the fastest growing banks in America. They started out with $3,000 back in, I think, 1904. They're up to $28 billion in assets in 6 states. And did you hear about the new golf tournament that they're bringing? It is part of the, yes. It's part of the PGA Tour Champions, and those are the guys that that have won championships before, and they're a little bit older. That's going to be at the Pleasant Valley Country Club. George, I know you're excited about that, but we cannot do what we're doing up here without Simmons Bank as our presenting sponsor. We thank them. Let's give a big round of applause to all of our great sponsors. At this time, RJ, will you come up and introduce our All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week?
Well, we had some great action this week. Who went out and saw a high school football game on Friday night? Anybody? A couple hands? Yes. Well, if you were familiar with the Hot Springs area, you saw this week's All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. 2 weeks ago during week 0, Lake Hamilton, they played Lakeside. Our All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week threw for 307 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran 15 times for 205 yards and a touchdown. That was 2 weeks ago. Peyton, I know you're going to like these numbers here in just a second, because last week in week 1, they played Russellville. They won the game 36-31. He was 14 of 23 for 353 yards and 4 touchdowns. So in 2 weeks, our Player of the Week threw for 600 yards and 7 touchdowns and accounted for 865 yards and 8 touchdowns. His mom, Josh, and Amanda are here as well. This week's All Arkansas Preps Player of the Week is Jacob Hermosillo, from Hot Springs Lakeside. Let's step out from the side here. Right here.
All right. This time we're going to have Rex Nelson with his first recap of the weekend. It's not going to be a long one, but it's going to be one that only Rex knows how to deliver. Give it for Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thanks, David. The largest crowd in the history of the Little Rock Touchdown Club, and you're part of it. Thanks for being here today. You know, with this largest crowd, and we knew how big it was going to be, I want you to notice one thing. We had plenty of cold water so you folks wouldn't whine on social media after the meeting today. I think this calls for a cold water toast to David Basil. Everybody ready? It's your water to Basil. All right, Peyton. Boss Basil told me to go fast, so I'm going to talk. I'm a Southern boy, going to sound like a Yankee here, but here we go. Arkansas 56, Western Carolina 13 on a hot afternoon at War Memorial Stadium. Just one opening series scoring drive last year in 13 games. Not this time. A score on the second play from scrimmage, and the Razorbacks never slowed down. It was the highest season opening scoring total since 2004. KJ Jefferson completes his first 12 throws. He goes 18 of 23, 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brad Spence's 85-yard interception return. That's the longest for a Razorback since 2014. 4 Razorback interceptions in a game for the first time since 2020. And Max Fletcher's 49-yard punting average, the highest since 2012 for a Razorback punter with that many punts or more. And the Hogs were turnover-free. All in all, a very good afternoon at War Memorial Stadium. Elsewhere in the SEC, in the high-profile games, the SEC pretty much laid an egg over Labor Day weekend. And UCA Bear, Mike Norvell, gets it done as head coach as Florida State spanks number 5 LSU. They don't like LSU here. 45-24, Jordan Travis, the FSU quarterback, 5 touchdowns he accounted for. The Seminoles run their winning streak to 7, and that quarterback is in the Heisman Trophy hunt already. Florida also laid an egg, falling 24-11 to Utah on Thursday night in Salt Lake City, where the fans did go out and celebrate with cold water after the game. It's Utah, after all. South Carolina falls 31-17 to Mac Brown and North Carolina in Charlotte. Mac, of course, has been to our club on numerous occasions. I believe this is his 87th year as a head coach, I read. The SEC did do well in beating up on, let's call it, Sisters of the Poor team elsewhere. On Thursday night, Missouri beat South Dakota 35-10. Tennessee beat Virginia 49-13. Now, Virginia's not exactly a sister of the poor, Peyton, so let's hear it for the Vols, folks. Elsewhere, some of these other opponents are a little questionable. Georgia 48, UT Martin 7, Alabama 56-7 over Middle Tennessee. Ole Miss 73-7 over Mercer. Texas A&M 52, New Mexico 10 in Bobby Petrino's debut as the Aggie offensive coordinator. Now, things will get rough, as we know, David, at some point in the season. And I'm still looking forward to the cussing contest between Jimbo and Bobby on the sideline. I don't know about you, but my money's on Bobby Petrino in a cussing contest all the way. Kentucky 44, Ball State 14, Mississippi State 48, Southeastern Louisiana 7, Auburn 59, UMass 14, Vanderbilt 47, Alabama A&M 13. Now, of the 10, this was unusual. We talked about this last week. Of the 10 Division I and II schools in Arkansas, 9 of them, all but the Razorbacks, played against schools from Oklahoma. Shane Broadway asked me to say nothing about the Arkansas State game. So I'll just give the score. OU 73, ASU nothing, and mention that Butch Jones's pat on the back did go viral on video. Oklahoma State 27, UCA 13. How about UCA hanging in there against a Power 5 team for the whole game? Good performance for the Bears. Tulsa 42, UAPB 7. Now our GAC teams, they went 5-1 against Oklahoma schools. It was Henderson 41, East Central 13, Ouachita 38, Southwestern Oklahoma 14. That's the 16th consecutive year, by the way, Ouachita's won its season opener. Harding 53, Southern Nazarene 20, Southern Arkansas 34, Southeastern Oklahoma 19, UAM 49, Northwestern Oklahoma 24. Only Arkansas team in the GAC to lose, Arkansas Tech, Oklahoma Baptist 23, Tech 20. So 5-1 for the Arkansas teams. Division III, NAI, Line beats Grinnell 18-12. Washington U out of St. Louis beats Hendricks 44-27. Arkansas Baptist plays its first game as an NAI school, and for some reason they're playing an FCS. Houston Christian 66, Arkansas Baptist nothing. Now this week, a plethora of college football in Arkansas. That's where'd David go? That's our word of the week. We're going to have a word of the week every week. Plethora. Kent State at Arkansas at 3 o'clock. Memphis at Arkansas State at 6 o'clock. Texas College at UCA. Oklahoma Baptist at Harding. Northwestern Oklahoma at Ouachita. Southern Nazarene at Arkansas Tech. Southwestern Oklahoma at UAM. And Belhaven at Line. So you folks have no excuse. College football game Saturday in Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Conway, Searcy, Arkadelphia, Russellville, Monticello, and Batesville. 8 different cities, no excuses. Get out and see a college football game on Saturday, everybody. Thank you.
All right, real quick before we bring Peyton up, and by the way, too, to get a guy like Peyton Manning, he's so in demand. He's got so many things going on, and we want to be so respectful of his time. So when we wrap up, we're going to allow him to get out of here so he can get back. And really, Peyton, I tell you, one of the reasons we were able to do this is Keith Ingram, who's a family friend. Keith had connected us with your dad, and your dad came and did a great job, and Eli too. But we really appreciate you fitting this in, because I know it's very difficult with all the things you have going on. So when we're done, if you just would allow him to get out of here. I know there's a lot of people. I didn't know how many people decided they wanted your autograph this week until about the last 3 days, and it's relentless. But what a great compliment. I know there's a lot of Bronco fans, Colts fans, Tennessee fans here. I do want to recognize some special guests that are here. for her second meeting in 3 weeks, our 47th governor of the state, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Please let's give a round of applause to her. Our lieutenant governor, who was been a regular for, I don't know how many, 10 years maybe, Leslie. Lieutenant Governor Leslie Rutledge. Please give her a round of applause. One of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game of football, All-American at Oklahoma, goes on to be an All-Pro with the Eagles, with the Packers and the Dolphins, won him a Super Bowl with Brett Favre and the Packers. He's a great guy doing great things for young people here in this state. Let's welcome Keith Jackson. Where's Keith at? I know that today Peyton got a chance to meet Molly Harrell, who is the granddaughter of Coach Broyles, who runs the Broyles Award with her husband Clayton and Betsy. One of Peyton's old coaches, David Cutcliffe, won this award in 1998, the year after you left. And we really love Coach Cutcliffe, and he's actually speaking to this group a little bit later in the year. So please let's welcome the Broyles family in the back. And a special guest that we had a chance to visit downstairs, a young man who was a high school classmate of Peyton, was actually the backup to Peyton. And if you can imagine, the unenviable position is to be the quarterback who steps in and plays the following year, following Peyton Manning down in Newman High School. But he goes on to win 10 games that next year, Peyton. He goes on to have a really nice deal, goes to play baseball at Ole Miss. He's been in Little Rock since I think 2001, been here in almost 20 years. I know he's a dear friend. Please let's welcome Maddox Walmsley and his son Maddox Jr. Where are they at? Yes, I need to get French in. Where is Congressman French Hill? I know he's at the Arkansas Youth. Let's please give it up to Congressman French Hill, also here. Peyton, he's working hard in Congress, and nobody does a Ronald Reagan imitation better than that guy right there. Well done. All right, it is time to get to Peyton, and our man Steve Sullivan from KETV has put together another great open. We'll have Peyton out here, and if you could, let's hit the lights and hit the video.
You could argue that no one has had a better football life than Peyton Manning. The son of the great Archie Manning compiled a record of 34-5 as the quarterback at New Orleans Isidore Newman High. He was named Gatorade National Player of the Year. Peyton started 45 games at Tennessee. His record, 39-6. He threw for 11,201 yards and 89 touchdowns, both Tennessee records. In his senior season, he won every award but the Heisman Trophy, one of the few Baz didn't create. His 17-year NFL career, incredible. NFL MVP, a record 5 times. He played in 14 Pro Bowls. He completed 6,125 passes for 71,940 yards in his Hall of Fame career. Peyton Manning was the first starting quarterback to win Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He's a member of the Indiana, Louisiana, Colorado, and Tennessee Hall of Fames, and some say he should be in the Nebraska Hall of Fame. Retired from the NFL, Peyton has changed the way people view Monday Night Football with the Manning cast.
I mean, don't like this. You can't hit the quarterback, but yet he can kick you right in the jewels, right?
Please welcome one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, Peyton Manning.
All right. Thank y'all. Very much. Thank y'all. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Peyton. Obviously, you're not your first time to Arkansas, and but first time for this group. But I remember, if you have the shot of 2016, I think is when your dad first spoke to us, and here he is. You can see me and Keith Ingram down there cracking up. I don't know. I think he was telling the story where Dan Hampton almost broke his nose when he was a backup at the Minnesota Vikings. So that was 2016. Of course, Eli a couple years ago. I thought it was interesting. It was the 20th anniversary of the 7 overtime game. But you probably wouldn't recognize Matt Jones over there with that beard.
I would not have recognized Matt.
But Eli did a great job, and I'd also heard that you love to duck hunt. And I know that this is a shot from somewhere unknown here, but you love to duck hunting here?
Over in Stuttgart, last winter. So I have duck hunted down in Arkansas several times. Always great to be here in Little Rock. People have always been very nice to me here, and it's a real honor to be back.
I heard that somebody told me the story that you had signed an autograph. I don't know if it was for Joe Klein or for somebody. It was somebody you knew. And then on there, you put Peyton Manning, and you put this graphic next, this number up there next. Is that true that you put that underneath your name when you signed that?
I feel like that he asked me to put something kind of different and special on there, so I put my record against Arkansas on the football. So it's a one-of-one collector's item there.
So I'm going to show one play, just one play. That's all the highlight we're going to just give me the one shot. I think this was 1990. Probably 1995. It's just so this is one of the passes. Watch how perfect this pass is from Peyton here.
And they do well. Manning wants to go deep. Has a man out there at the 15. Touchdown, Tennessee. And that is Joey Kent, the young man we were just talking about.
That was 1995. That was in Fayetteville. For some reason, our coach couldn't figure it out. He kind of used it as motivation that Arkansas scheduled us for homecoming that year. And we sort of took that as a little more motivation. But I remember they asked Coach Ford, Danny Ford was the head coach, before the season. He said, Coach, it looks like Tennessee and Florida will probably be the best teams in the conference this year. And classic Danny Ford line, he said, well, shoot, son, don't take no scientific rocket to figure that out. So, but yeah, that was one of my 4 times playing against Arkansas. My senior year, we played them right here in Little Rock in a good football game as well.
Not to go back and be negative for us Hog fans, but I was looking at your numbers. So you were 4-0, as you mentioned, 94, 95, 96, 97. That 95 game actually put you on the map nationally. You threw for, I think, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. That sort of was the breakout game for you.
That was a good football team. Joe Lee Dunn was our defensive coordinator, who we just lost, and Coach Cooper, Barry Lunny was the quarterback. It was a good ball game. And like I said, I feel like every time we played Arkansas, it was a tough game, especially that one here in Little Rock. I think we had to come back in the 4th quarter to beat them that night.
Well, in those 4 games, you combined to throw for 12 touchdown passes, 1,200 yards for a combined score of 172 to 88 against the Razorbacks.
Okay, maybe it wasn't as close as I thought it was. Yeah, so.
The other thing I wanted a couple other local connections real quick is that, I was showing Peyton all of our awards up there. First one, Cliff Harris, a guy that went in the same weekend you did in the NFL Hall of Fame. If you got the next picture, this is, Cliff had waited so long, Peyton, for this. And the next picture there shows I'd watched you. He told me he was so appreciative because you were so engaged. You were going in on Sunday. It was a combined years. But just the fact you took the time to talk with him reflects on Cliff.
Well, Cliff's obviously the same era as my dad. My dad played against the Cowboys a lot. The Cowboys were such a great football team. My dad went on a USO tour with Cliff Harris in the mid-'70s, and so great to see him honored there. That was a no-brainer decision, in my opinion. It took a little longer, like you said, than it should have, but that was a fun weekend for both of us going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that weekend. Here's a great shot of you and your dad. That obviously, can't be a bigger moment, I would imagine, of having your dad there with you.
Yeah, a lot of people pick coaches. A lot of people will pick a relative to introduce them and present them. But my dad's had the greatest impact on my life, but especially greatest football impact, even though he never coached me. His rule, David, was if we wanted his help, I had to go and ask him to come and help us, and he was glad to do it, but it was never him coming to us. It was never him pushing us and pressuring us. And I think because of that, football was always fun. We always enjoyed it, and just appreciated his approach to kind of how he raised us. He was very present in our lives. He was at my Little League baseball games. He was in the stands at my youth basketball games. I know he said no to some things that would have probably kept him away from being a part of his kids' lives, and I've kind of tried to follow that same advice in this second chapter for me. I'm still very busy. I do way too many commercials. I apologize. But
I'm the offensive coordinator on my son's youth football team. I'll be at my daughter's volleyball game tomorrow, and that's important to me to be a part of my kids' lives, and my dad was a great mentor that way.
Speaking of that weekend there in Canton, I was there, and it was the first weekend, I believe, where you guys were restricted and how much you could talk. Now, your comedic time is amazing. I mean, you might as well, I don't know how you learned and how you do what you do, but this is just 60 seconds from Peyton's speech. Now, remember, before that, you could get up and speak as long as you wanted to, and there were epic speeches until this year, and this is Peyton's first reaction to that.
There you go. Tonight's speech is an all-time hurry. The 2021 induction class wants to thank those previous inductees who gave long-winded acceptance speeches, forcing us to have a whopping 6 minutes to recap our football careers. I want to give a special thanks to my old rival, Ray Lewis, for being here tonight. Ray just finished giving his speech that he started in 2018. Next year, acceptance speeches will probably shrink to 4 minutes. And speaking of rivals, my good friend Tom Brady is here tonight. By the time he is inducted, By the time Tom Brady is inducted in his first year of eligibility in the year 2035, he'll only have time to post his acceptance speech on his Instagram account.
Great stuff. It was a great weekend. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for that. That was one of the best speeches we heard that weekend. Speaking of other Hall of Famers that we have here in Arkansas, Peyton, obviously you got Cliff Harris, Dan Hampton, and Willie Roaf. Any thoughts on those two guys?
Yeah, Dan Hampton, obviously, that Super Bowl that the Bears won was down in New Orleans, and I was 9 years old. I went to that game, and I was just thinking about kind of wanting to play quarterback, and after seeing what the Bears did to the Patriots that day, I kind of decided I might not want to play quarterback. Willie Roaf was probably the best player on the New Orleans Saints for such a long time. I can remember watching Willie Roaf run at the combine. Nobody had ever seen an offensive lineman move that fast. Actually got to play with him as a teammate when he was with the Chiefs, played with him in the Pro Bowl. And I was thinking if I could have one player I could take back to the Colts with me, it would have been Willie Roaf. He was that good.
Two great guys, and obviously we honor them at this club. Darren McFadden, we do that. One of the reasons I want to bring him up, you and Darren have something in common. Obviously, Heisman runner-up, very close, twice for DMAC. And I was wondering, is that something that you're laying there in bed one night, you just all of a sudden, really, does that Woodson got first defensive player to ever win the Heisman? Does that ever get in your craw a little bit?
I was disappointed because I really wanted to win for the University of Tennessee. Tennessee, an incredible history, has never had a Heisman Trophy winner. Had 4 runner-ups, Hank Larsella, Johnny Majors, Heath Schuler, and myself. Hendon Hooker was probably on track to win it last year until he got hurt. So, yeah, I think you want to kind of win it for your school. But look, Charles Woodson was an incredible player. Charles and I just couldn't shake each other. We were the same Heisman class. We were drafted together, played 18 years, the same amount of time, went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame together. So I just can't get rid of Charles Woodson. He's always been right there. But obviously he had an incredible career. But, yeah, I think that's the only thing is that I wish I could have won it for the University of Tennessee.
Two other guys, and we'll move on. One of my old teammates went on to be one of the great Denver Broncos of all time. We call him the Smiling Assassin, Steve Atwater. What a class act. And, when I saw him, Peyton, I'll never forget when he was a freshman, I remember telling my buddies that dude's going to make a lot of money one of these days. Just not only was a great player, but a great guy.
No, he's been a great guy. He's been a great ambassador for the Broncos. He works in the community relations, and great to see him inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I still think about that famous hit he had on Christian Okoye. You can still hear that hit. So Steve's a good friend, and proud to be living in Denver with him.
And I had a chance to visit with you about this. Last here is obviously a guy that's very iconic in this state. His name is Brandon Burlsworth. You were drafted number 1 in 1997. Brandon was drafted the following year. Went to rookie camp for a few days, and I know didn't have much time around him, but was killed tragically, I think 15 days later. Just any memories from running across him?
Yeah, that was a tough deal. Brandon was a captain in that game against Arkansas in '97. There's a picture of he and I at the coin toss, and I remember Bill Polian, our general manager, telling me about this guard we drafted from Arkansas that he thought he would be a staple of our offensive line. And Bill Polian was one of those guys that when he drafted you, he wanted you to be there for 12 years. He was not looking to get a couple years out of you and then move on. He wanted to build a foundation. And the majority of my teammates played for so many years, and so Brandon was going to be a big part of our plans to build our offensive line. And he was tragically killed in between kind of OTAs and minicamp. But what a great guy. You could tell what a great spirit he had about him. The glasses, kind of fooled you a little bit. He was an intense competitor. He was going to be a great player for us. So that was a tragic deal, and my thoughts and prayers have been with his family for a long time.
Of course, the Burlsworth Trophy goes to the top player in America that begins his career as a walk-on,
Yep.
so it's neat to be able to continue to honor him. I mentioned Walt Coleman was here. So Walt, if you go to Canton, if you walk around the bowels of that, they do have a section for referees. And it's a very unique list. I think, Walt, 15, 20 referees that have refereed in the NFL for 30 years. And our Walt Coleman is one of those. Very proud of that, and that's worth a tremendous round of applause. So last year, I brought in John Gruden. And, John Gruden does not like that man right there. He does not like Walt Coleman because, obviously, you remember the tuck rule and all that. So it was really sort of neat on stage to see Gruden try to be nice to him. And Walt trying to be nice. So Walt was talking on our show one day about something very special to him that involves you. Walt, come up real quick, grab a mic, and I want you to share. Give it up for Walt Coleman, everybody.
Thank you very much, David, for the opportunity to be here. I was privileged to have the opportunity to referee Peyton's games. I was fortunate to work the 2004 AFC Championship game between Indianapolis and New England. Unfortunately, Tom Brady won that particular matchup. As an official, we're not that well thought of by too many folks. We're not very well thought of by coaches, players, any of those. And in my 30 years in the National Football League, I probably refereed 25,000 players. In my NFL career, I probably worked games that include 25,000 players. When I retired from the National Football League after the 2018 season, I received one congratulatory note from a former player. One congratulatory note. That congratulatory note was from Peyton Manning. Now, we all know what kind of football player he was. But this tells you the type of person that he is. A real person. A handwritten congratulatory note from Peyton Manning to a guy that wore a striped shirt. Unbelievable. Peyton, thank you very much.
Thanks, Walt. You remember any calls that he had to get, any particular calls?
Walt was great. Walt had a bunch of our games every single season playing for the Colts, and it seemed like it was a lot of those big games as well. Funny story about that. We were playing, I was playing for the Broncos, and we played a game against the Dolphins, and this head linesman, it wasn't a head official like Walt, but it was a head linesman, made the worst holding call I'd ever seen before. And I absolutely I lost my cool, and I let him have it, and I felt so bad. I knew this official. This official used to call my games in college. I've known him for a long time. I used to talk to him before the game, and I lost my cool. I let him have it. We ended up winning the game. So I tried to find him after the game, David, to apologize. But as Walt would tell you, after the game, those referees, they are running out of the stadium. So I actually called the NFL office to get this official's address because I wanted to write an apology letter to him. And the NFL, they wouldn't give me his address. Because they thought I was going to like go to the guy's house and like vomit. Like nobody apologizes to an official, so I'm glad Walt got that letter.
You know, you obviously you're no longer playing football, and you know I was wondering how you would be connected to the game, but you've hit the ground running. You know, I think I'm busy until I'm just reading about you. One of the things I want to mention before we get into some of the obvious things like Omaha Productions, I saw just in the last month, you're now officially a faculty member of the University of Tennessee, featured expert in the UT College of Communication and Information. You're going to be a professor, Professor Manning. Everybody, how about
easy.
that?
Yeah. My brother Eli said it's an easy A for sure for these students. The article was a little bit embellished, David. I'm a guest lecturer a couple times a year. I think the article made it sound like I'm moving to Knoxville and going to be a full-time professor. We still live in Denver, but I actually taught my first class last week, and I really enjoyed it. I had one of my professors who's still there in the College of Communications who teaches a class on public speaking, and so he and I kind of did it sort of like you and I are doing. He kind of propped me up with some questions, and it was about 45 students, all seniors, and I really did enjoy doing it, but it's just kind of a part-time thing. But you were talking about being sweating so much. The air conditioner didn't work in the building, and I was sweating profusely. I think these students thought I was pretty nervous, but it was really just because the air conditioner didn't work. I truly felt like I was back in college, but it's been a great way to stay close to the University of Tennessee, which is an important place to me, not just through the sports program, but through the College of Communications. And so, but I gave them all an A so far.
You can imagine, man, you imagine being a student and the kind of information that you could get from Peyton Manning. That's what a blessing to those students who get to be there. Omaha Productions, we'll get to Omaha, the word Omaha in a minute, but Omaha Productions, man, you're knocking it out of the park with the Manning cast, which is now in its third year. Ratings have been great. The new hits, docuseries Quarterback on Netflix, that's part of your work along with NFL Films. Just talk about the things you're doing and sort of how, when you left football, what you wanted to do.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to be a part of something that I don't maybe physically have to be sort of the centerpiece or the quarterback of. I can sort of be the offensive coordinator on the sidelines, but still part of a team. We're in the content creation business, and we try to create positive, uplifting, unifying content that celebrates hard work and community. And we think there's a lot of positive stories to tell that sort of fit that criteria. We think sports is a great way to bring people together. The Monday night show that Eli and I do, I keep Eli employed, so we're all set to do it again. Unfortunately, it's hard to say that something good came out of the pandemic, but so many things being done remotely out of the pandemic, including broadcasting. That's kind of how the idea got born, David. And Eli kind of thought that ESPN was joking. He said, "Wait a minute, let me get this straight. You want to pay me to watch football with my brother from my house?" He's like, "I know I went to Ole Miss, but that sounds like a pretty good idea, though." So that's how we do it. Eli does it from his guest house in New Jersey. I do it from my neighbor Scott's garage in Denver. All that equipment kind of stays there all year, so I asked Scott if I could borrow his car garage. But we're all set to do it this Monday. We're kind of the B team. We're on ESPN2, and we have guests on that the number one criteria is that they have to love football, and from all different walks of life. And I love being around people who love football as much as I do. Last year we had President Obama, diehard Bears fan. Condoleezza Rice can break down a cover 2 defense as well as I can. Snoop Dogg has been a youth football coach in Los Angeles for years. He's had a huge impact on a number of young men playing football. Now these guests are on via Zoom, right? So Eli and I can see them kind of during the commercials. There's a little more smoke coming out of Snoop's Zoom than there is out of Condoleezza's or President Obama, but that's okay. They all love football, right? And we're all coming together. So we're set to do it again. But yeah, Omaha, it's been fun for me. David, I think what I miss the most about playing is being a part of the team, and I kind of find myself on these different teams, and it's been fun to sort of be a part of the Omaha team and give other people a platform to kind of tell their stories.
I think the first Manning cast was Baltimore versus the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And this is the first play. You knew this was going to be a hit. This is the first play from that game, and yours and Eli's commentary real quick.
I think the first play tells you a lot about what the season's going to be like. John Gruden likes shifting motions. Let's see what the Raiders season's going to be like. This is going to tell me everything I need to know.
All right, incomplete. What does that tell you?
Looking at 6 and 11. 6 and 11 right now.
And I think you were right. I think
I was. I think that might have been generous, actually.
What about Netflix, the quarterback?
Yeah, it was fun last year. We were part of this show called Quarterback, which basically took viewers behind the ropes on what it's like to be an NFL quarterback, what quarterbacks do during the week on their off days. And we followed 3 different quarterbacks at 3 different points in their careers, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Patrick Mahomes. And it was just, I appreciate those guys stepping up and kind of allowing the access. Nobody's ever done that during the season. And our promise was, because I played the position, that we are not going to be a distraction. We are going to just be a fly on the wall, and just we want to document just kind of what it's like for a quarterback. And we're hoping to do it again this year. In fact, my pitch to the quarterbacks for this year is, I guarantee if you do it, you will win the Super Bowl and be the MVP of the league like Patrick Mahomes was. But people have said they have enjoyed, people didn't know much about Kirk Cousins, right? He's a great dad. His wife packs his clothes before games. On Tuesdays, his off days, he doesn't watch any film, takes his kids to school and goes to the library and reads. And so it's just neat that there's different ways to play the position, and it was fun to take the viewers kind of behind the ropes and showing what it's really like to be an NFL quarterback.
Well, you're certainly knocking it out of the park, everything you've done, and I think I saw with the agreement with ESPN, and now Omaha Productions is looking at possible, college football, UFC, and other areas too.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I said, Eli and I do the Monday night show, but we produce some other, we call it an alternate broadcast. We're doing some other alternate broadcasts and other sports that I'm a part of. I don't physically have to be, sort of the center of, and I enjoy that part of it.
Of course, Peyton Place obviously is a home run too. Great stuff there. You mentioned those quarterbacks, and you and I were talking. You played in the league a long time, and physically, are you still dealing with effects of those? And maybe looking back, what are some of the guys that really laid the wood to you that maybe you're still feeling today?
Yeah, I probably have normal aches and pains, I guess, than most former players do. I kind of alluded to the guy that hit me the hardest in that video earlier, Ray Lewis, great linebacker for the Ravens, big, strong, smart, fast, instinctive. I always thought he kind of knew our plays a little bit, so. And so when he'd kind of hit me, David, he'd kind of like he'd have this running start, and he'd kind of hit me and sort of drive me into the ground and kind of use me to help him get up and whisper in my ear, "I'll be back here in a couple of minutes, punk." He's a very friendly guy. When he retired, it was one of the greater days of my life. I mentioned playing in a Pro Bowl with Willie Roaf. I played in a few Pro Bowls with Ray Lewis, and it was supposed to be kind of this relaxing week in Hawaii, celebrating your season. And I wasn't over there relaxing. I was buying Ray Lewis his dinner, his drinks. I bought him golf clubs one year, kind of hoping he wouldn't hit me as hard come next October, but he never seemed to remember. So.
Any other part of the game, you think about all the teammates that you had.
Yep.
My gosh, I don't know how you keep up with all of them, but what great memories just from your teammates.
Yeah, I played with so many great teammates in Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Denver. And that's what I miss the most about playing, is that bonding with your teammates. We're on a group text together. We're in a fantasy football league together, but you don't see each other every day. And I've lost some teammates. Demaryius Thomas, a great receiver for the Broncos. We lost him last year. And so we try to stay connected. But football, it is the ultimate team game. It is the ultimate form of bonding, camaraderie, and fellowship. I miss the plane rides after a win. There's nothing quite like being on a plane with 53 of your friends after this hard-fought victory. The adrenaline, the emotion, you really can't describe it. I tell people all the time, next time you're on that flight and that flight attendant says, "This plane cannot take off," everyone is seated and your cell phones are turned off, that is not true. That is an absolute lie, because After an NFL game, I'm telling you, everybody is standing up. They're high-fiving and hugging, and they're on their phones, and that plane takes off just fine. So I miss the plane rides is what I miss.
I know you were expecting this, Peyton. Again, brilliant marketer that you are. And I played football for a few years, obviously at Arkansas, but Omaha. Now, so for those that may be here in this audience that don't understand where Omaha comes from, we've got a clip. This is from one game, and you're going to listen to Peyton behind the center saying Omaha. We'll just listen for a second here.
Them touchdown passes, being Thomas, most of it being Thomas after, but instead the ball is moved. Omaha! But it's a tough Omaha! That the first two games. Omaha! Peyton's right side.
These are different plays.
For the touchdown on Bird with Seattle.
So as we could go on, I think it's 44 times that it was counted Omaha. So tell our audience about Omaha.
Yeah, so Omaha, first off, okay, when a quarterback audibles, right, that's when he changes the play at the line of scrimmage based on what the defense is doing. He usually to either get out of a bad play or to get to a really good play. And usually when you audible, you do it with just a few seconds on the play clock because the defense finally sort of tips their hand and you see what they're doing and now you want to change the play. And so Omaha was simply a kind of an indicator word that meant we had changed the play and there was just a few seconds on the clock. So the ball needed to be snapped now. It was a rhythmic 3-syllable word. Omaha, snap the ball. First off, the reason you can hear what's being said is really about the time I got to Denver, about 10 years ago. The NFL turned those microphones up louder to bring the television viewer at home closer to the game. Great for the viewer at home. Not so great for the quarterbacks because we found out that defenses, guys like Ray Lewis, they were watching the television copies of the games we had played the week before and picking up on all of our offensive verbiage and terminology that we have worked so hard to kind of protect, and now we're just broadcasting it out to all of our competition, right? And so it was a real disadvantage. I mean, look, there's a reason these guys are playing defense, right? There's no geniuses over there, right? So, but you give them the plays and they kind of know what you're doing. So I used to go to the broadcasters, the Jim Nances and the Chris Collinsworth. I'd say, can you turn those microphones down? And they wouldn't do it. And my one regret of all those years of playing it, instead of saying Omaha, was to get up there under center one time, David, and go, blue 20, Jim Nance is a no good, you know what, son of a mother. I think they would have turned those microphones down. Just never had the guts to do it, but Walt would have put a big penalty on me for doing that. So anyway, Omaha was an indicator word. There was no real rhyme or reason. It was a 3-syllable word, and all I can tell you is I'm a big deal in Omaha, Nebraska now. I went there a couple years ago. I got the key to the city. I got some steaks out of the deal. So if you have a company and you want to get some viral marketing, try to get it into a quarterback snap count. That's a good way to kind of expand your business.
It worked. One of the things I've really enjoyed, Peyton, the last 3 years is that Greg Hatcher's son, Lane, has been one of your quarterback instructors down at the Manning Passing Academy. For those that really don't know what is happening down there, I just want you to talk a little bit about that and really not more about what's happening with the camp. I love the fact that this is a commitment that you have made, your dad has made, your brothers have made, and this is not something where you're not engaged. You are in there every second. And I think it's wonderful because not only are you impacting those college quarterbacks, but all those young quarterbacks that are there to learn.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. When I was a junior in high school, I went to a camp called the Bowden Passing Academy. It was a camp that Bobby Bowden ran with his sons, Terry Bowden, Tommy Bowden, and it was a great camp. And my dad got to visit with Coach Bowden when he was recruiting me later that year, and Coach Bowden said he loves this camp because it's a guaranteed 3 days he has with his boys every single year, and he thought they were teaching young quarterbacks the right way to play the position. So my dad kind of took the idea, and we called the Manning Passing Academy, and we just finished our 28th year that we've had it. And it's a high school camp for anybody can sign up. It's not a recruiting camp by any means. It's for 8th graders through 12th graders, quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, running backs, for high school kids. But we have college players come and serve as counselors, and in return, Eli and I will help those quarterbacks like Lane with their goals and any questions they have about playing college football or possibly playing pro football. So you name a quarterback, in the NFL right now, he has probably been through our camp, and it's a great way for us to get to know these guys. So it's a double pay it forward. We're helping the college players, we're helping the high school players. I love the position of quarterback, so it's important to me. But it's 4 days that me and my two brothers, Eli and Cooper, get to be with my dad. We stay in the dorms there at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Classic freshman dorm. Not a lot of high cotton living at Nicholls State, so it's a fun way to be with your brothers and your dad.
Yeah, very humid down there too. Whew, it was but a great job there.
You would sweat a lot down there, Dave.
Yes. Speaking of family, I mentioned I saw you engaging with Cliff Harris. One of the other things I watched, I was sort of watching you walk around. You had your boy there with you. I don't know how old he was at the time, but I noticed you introduced him to every young man. And I know that's an important part of your life. I don't know if people ask you about it, but as crazy as you are, I know that's important, and especially being able to do some of the unique things that you do with your son.
Yeah, like I said, I had a great mentor in my dad. My dad, like I said, he was very present in our lives, and I've tried to take that same approach with our kids. Ashley and I have 12-year-old boy-girl twins that are in 7th grade right now, and I just felt my dad was a good teacher in that regard. There's a good documentary on my dad several years ago, kind of telling his story. He lost his father when he was in college and had a big impact on his parenting philosophy, telling us he was proud of us, telling us that he loved us, and I've tried to do those same things. It was a well-done documentary, David. I personally think it showed a few too many crying videos of me as a 3-year-old. At what point do you think you stop filming your 3-year-old son getting kicked in the head by his older brother and maybe go out there and help the kid? No, I got to keep filming. This might be a documentary one day. So besides that, he's been a great dad. But I think the thing that people make a mistake on is they think my parents had some mission to raise quarterbacks, and I really think that they tried to raise just normal kids, and maybe that's why I ended up working out. It was not a plan by any means, and so had a great mentors that way. It was a fun way to grow up. Cooper and Eli and I, my parents always said, if you ever want to disappoint us as parents, just don't get along with your brothers. Maybe one way to really kind of let us down. I'm not saying we didn't fight and argue like brothers do, but we always had each other's backs. And so I've tried to instill that in our kids. They're twins, that they have a bond like no other. But try to include them in as many things as possible, like my parents did, because it was a special way to grow up.
Was it fun? I know a high-profile Cooper's son Arch obviously was in the big recruiting deal with ended up going to Texas, and it's different than it used to be when we were getting recruited. So was that interesting as a family just to sort of watch that? Yeah,
look, I'm his uncle. I just tried to be a resource to him when he had questions, but by no means was I going to try to recruit him to go where I went. His other uncle is just too cheap to pay any NIL money for him to go to Ole Miss, so that's why Ole Miss didn't get him. But Cooper, my brother, was a great wide receiver for me when I was in high school. When I was a sophomore, he was a senior. I completed 120 passes that year. I threw 90 of them to my brother. And he goes to Ole Miss, and he has this neck injury and has to give up his career. And that was tough, the way he handled that adversity. Boy, he had a really good attitude about it, had great faith. He wrote me a letter saying, I want to live my dream of playing football through you. So I always kind of remembered that and kept that with me. So for him to kind of have this full circle with his son being so highly recruited, it's been really cool. But Cooper, really been successful in business, got a great family, couldn't play football, but became a social legend at Ole Miss, if that makes sense to anybody in here. So he definitely made his mark still.
Last thing here, we'll let you go because I know you've got a meeting you need to be back at. But, looking through, trying to decide, just to try to learn and see what all Peyton Manning has done, it's pretty amazing. You ever sit back and go, wow, man, what a amazing life. And the different areas, like this is one of my favorite deals that you did. And the people that you've been able, because of your success, be able to be around. This was and I know what I'm talking about, this was a ESPN bit with Will Ferrell. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of Will Ferrell. And obviously Peyton is doing this bit, but even Peyton can't contain himself. And I was just thinking, what an amazing opportunity to do this kind of segment. Just watch. This is just a portion of it at the very end here.
Bingo. And that's why Peyton Manning is the best in the biz. Peyton, before I let you go, a lot of attention has been given to you and your two brothers, Eli. Is it Eli or Ellie?
Eli.
Oh, Eli. Sorry. So a lot of attention to you and your brothers, Eli and Cooper, but few people know about the fourth Manning brother, Danielle Manning, who is currently playing strong safety for the Texans and is African American. Tell me a little about Danielle Manning.
Well, Ron, I hate to break it to you.
Yeah.
There is not a fourth Manning brother named Danielle Manning. He is a heck of a football player. I played against him a lot, but we are not related.
Okay, well, good to know, and someone here at Espen in the research department is going to be fired.
Espen, so I just got to ask, I mean, your life's been so amazing. You know, you find yourself working with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, you know, for a football player to take your helmet off, you know, football, those of you know, sometimes when the media sees a football player, you know, laughing on the sidelines, that means he's not focused, right? He doesn't have his game face on. So for a football player to be able to take their helmet off and kind of laugh and show that they can laugh at themselves, and I've never taken myself too seriously. I like to laugh at myself. I like to make fun of myself. I always thought that was good in a locker room, right? If you're going to dish it out, you better be able to take it well. So yeah, that was. You know, Will Ferrell kind of wrote that whole script, and he kind of just told me sort of what to say to kind of prop him up. But doing things like that, and you know, I hosted Saturday Night Live years ago. That it's funny. This one skit we did where I was throwing these footballs.
You want to see it real quick?
Oh no, y'all have that one too.
You got.
Oh, wow.
Watch
Okay,
about
great.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. The last thing we'll let him go. 30 seconds of that. That should be number 18.
Cops, every man.
No, that's at the end of it. Try it again.
Just a few hours
That's
of
the end of
Peyton's
it.
time helps create childhood memories that will last a lifetime.
Just keep biting down. It's looking good. That's a tattoo. It's going to be there forever.
As well as skills for life, such as assertiveness.
That's good. That's good. That's it. That was actually we had the beginning of it. But yeah, what a great job on SNL.
Well, like I said, in this skit, it lives on YouTube, unfortunately, so you can see it easily. But these footballs were Nerf footballs, and the footballs weighed nothing. But you put those sound effects, it looks like you were just knocking these kids out. And the director said, Peyton, you're a charitable guy. This is a spoof skit for the United Way. That's why it's going to be funny, but you got to be all in. You got to whack these kids right in the head. And you know, as a matter of fact, the theme of it was United Way. Spend time with your kids so Peyton Manning doesn't. And so, you know, the kids' parents, David, were out there the whole time. They were watching. That was very uncomfortable for me. And I finally told the director, I said, I'll go up to the edge. This feels slightly over the edge. You know, the parents are watching. I just don't feel comfortable. He said, no problem, we don't have to do it. And right then, right as we were about to cancel it, one of the parents of the kids runs out onto the set and tells the director, I want him to hit my kid in the face. And I said, I will do it. I will knock your kid out. So these kids are, you know, that was 2007. These kids are in their mid-20s now. And I got a letter last year that this kid, Jack, who was the kid I kind of hit on the way to the portalette, one of the best throws I ever made, actually, was getting married. And would I do a little video for his wedding? And my video went something like this. Jack, you know, I threw a few touchdowns in my life, but for the most part, when I walk down the street, people recognize me because you let me hit you in the face with a football. Thank you for putting me on the map, and best wishes for eternal happiness.
Peyton, thanks again for coming here. Obviously, you know, we appreciate what you've accomplished, and I think today you see a little bit more about Peyton Manning, the man, and the kind of class act he is. And your dad was so nice to us. Your brother was so nice, and we wish you continued success. Even though you're a Tennessee Volunteer, I know there's some Volunteer fans. Is that I know everybody here in this room appreciate you taking time for us. Let's give it up for Peyton Manning, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Tony Dorsett, Heisman Trophy winner, Dallas Cowboy, NFL Hall of Famer. Next week, we'll see you then at the Marriott. This is going to be at the Marriott next week. Thanks for being here, everybody.